Would you like to do the honors of clapping?
Oh, do I?
That's how we start, yeah. Great. Okay, cool. So, welcome. We're currently with my very good friend Tim Boyd at the New Wave Brasserie, and we're out in the back in the shack.
Shack out the back.
Shack out of the back. Thanks, Tim, for joining us at a new table.
Okay.
Here to talk about everything fish and seafood related.
Absolutely.
So, so for those who don't know about New Wave, I know you guys have been in operation running since 1989.
Yes, correct.
Do you want to walk us through what you guys do?
Okay, so yeah, so for New Wave Seafood is a wholesale fish supply company to restaurants, primarily restaurants, but it could be chefs. We do some of the colleges. We supply some fish counters as well, but generally we're a wholesale business, buying direct from the market down on the coast, bringing fish back up to this area, preparing it through the night.
This area being in the Cotswolds,
This area being in the Cotswolds, excuse me, yes, and then redistributing back out across quite a wide, about an 80-mile radius from here, the next day. So that's actually what we do as a company, is supply restaurants and hotels, pubs and schools and colleges, fish counters, sort of thing. And
you guys also have a store just for direct customers to buy from, right?
No, we don't.
Oh, okay.
No, we don't. So over in, we've got a wholesale depot in Fairford, which is exclusively wholesale. So retail customers aren't allowed on site. It's kind of too dangerous. We've got forklift trucks and things there. It's on quite a big scale.
Yeah, makes sense.
16,000 square foot unit we've got there. So it's pretty large. 80 people working there. But back in 2008 we opened up a shop in Cirencester, the New Wave Fish Shop, which has recently been branded as the New Wave Fish and Seafood Market. So that's been going since 2008, and that was giving the opportunity to the end user customer to be able to enjoy our fresh fish and seafood, which we're buying direct from the coast. So we opened the fish shop in 2008 and recently had a refurb of the shop, and then in addition to that, we set up a sort of delivery service during lockdown, for particularly when restaurants and everything were closed, supplying the general public from our vehicles. So they can't come to us, but we can deliver to them.
Okay.
So we've been doing that, and we're kind of tying that in with the fish shop in Cirencester and the once a week fish market at Lechlade as well that we're doing now.
Over here at the new restaurant.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, so basically, I've kind of got three businesses really. The main one is the New Wave Wholesale, which has been going since 1989. It's 34 years now. I've been doing that for 2 years in seafood before that. So I'm 36 years in fish actually. But then yes, the fish shop we opened in 2008, which is quite a bad time to open actually, a session ago. Took a while to get going, but that ended up doing really well during lockdown, and since then it's doing incredibly well. We've rebranded that, and then and then over here, then I sort of had I was looking for another site for a wet fish shop actually in Lechlade.
In Lechlade in particular?
In Lechlade in particular. So I moved to Lechlade a couple of years ago, really liked the place, I could see a lot of potential in the town, and I was looking for another fresh fish shop, and then this cafe came up for sale. Vera's Kitchen it was called, and the freehold came up for sale, and I'm a bit impulsive, and I just kind of I've been talking about having a fish restaurant for a long time, just maybe as a bit of a pipe dream, but with my advantage as a wholesaler I kind of thought that it might stack up, because obviously I've got a link to the coast, I've got fresh fish that I can source cheaper than anybody else really, and a wider range. So if we did have a restaurant, as long as it didn't upset my existing restaurant customers, which I've got to be very careful of, and staff and things as well. It could be an issue. So I'm kind of playing three different markets really. One is supplying chefs, another is supplying the end user fresh fish to take home, and then we've got the restaurant here now for people to come in and eat.
Yeah, and you guys did a really beautiful job. I mean,
yes, I mean it's kind of we put it together quite quickly, and my sort of business partner, business partner, whatever you want to call him, Bob, designed the shack here, decided how it was going to look, and yeah, I mean it's this is the sort of informal part. We've got a smarter,
more formal dining.
More formal dining in the front, but we specialise in seafood and top quality seafood.
Yeah.
So that was this kind of idea. But we're only in the 8th month here now of the restaurant, so it's relatively new business.
Yeah,
we haven't done the summer yet. So
I know that everybody was really excited in Lechlade to see a new restaurant like this open. So
yes,
yeah.
Well, hopefully it's delivering. I hope so.
And so you mentioned that you obviously get supplied from different parts of England. I saw on your website you've got this really cool map which shows where you guys get your fish and your seafood from.
Yes.
From Cornwall to Scotland.
Yes, I mean the main area that we specialise in is Cornwall and Devon. There's 3 markets down there, fish auctions. So the wild fish is sold on auction down there, and we go down. We're direct buyers on each of those 3 markets. It's Plymouth, Brixham, and Newlyn. It's where the fish is landed, the wild fish is landed. It's brought in, catalogued, and then sold at auction very early in the morning. Mm-hmm. So I've got people who.
And so you guys buy every day, right?
Yeah, we buy every day, all through the week. We go down and we send our own van down there every day, 5 days a week. We load up with all sorts of fish from Cornwall, usually day boat caught, line caught. We buy from the smallest boats we can, the best fish we can, get it back here, and it's just an ongoing cycle. There's lots of products we do. One of them is Cornish wild fish, but then we also have a lot of shellfish coming down from Scotland. We have farm fish coming from Norway, and then you have all these other products like oysters and crabs and lobsters that you're sourcing from different. I mean, we literally do an A to Z of UK sustainable seafood. Right. So we're covering about 80 or 90 species, pretty much on a daily basis.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, and with all the sizes of each one, because even one species that a bigger size is almost a totally different fish. It'll be a totally different price and everything. It'll be the prime cut. So you're kind of handling all these different, all this different fish basically. But yeah.
Well, no. So just to go back on what you said, you obviously get supplied mostly from local fishermen, but you also mentioned Norway. So so you've got to differentiate the difference between wild and farm first of all. Okay, explain that
big
to
difference,
us.
Big difference. So wild fish is you don't know what you're getting. You're going out in a boat. It's random. You don't know what you're going to catch, and you don't know how much it's going to be.
When you go out to sea with your
you go out to sea, and those that's fishermen. They're going out. They're sort of hunting for fish, if you like, and there's a few different ways to catch them. 3 or 4 different ways of catching fish. Line caught or trawling or fixed net or gathering. Basically, those are like sardines with a kind of purse net. So they'll be fishing on those methods, going out to sea and targeting certain species. So that's your wild fish. Okay. So and the best of that is coming in down in Cornwall. Small boats, artisan methods of fishing. Maybe just 2 people on the boat. If you're going for something like hake, you do need a bigger boat, but still, it's they're really using sustainable methods there, particularly the hake boats. That's all MSC approved, marine. I get mixed up. There's Marine Conservation Society, Marine Stewardship Council is the ones who covered the hake. There's 2 different organisations with similar names, but anyway. So that's wild fish that you're buying down there. And then what's farmed? So then you've got farm fish. Okay, so farm fish can be farmed in various different places depending on climate, etc. So salmon is always done up in Scotland or Norway, but things like sea bass and bream, they're done out in Greece or Turkey. In Norway they do halibut and turbot. Farmed. This is all farm now. I'm talking all farm fish now. So we can buy a turbot down in Cornwall that's wild, but it might not be there at all. we might not get one. B, the price, because everything's sold on auction down on the wild fish, that could escalate up to an outrageous price that's non-economical for a chef to buy it, because they're kind of constantly working backwards on working on multiples of markup. So if they can't sell a turbot for more than a turbot dish for, say, for example, more than £35, they pretty much can't buy that for more than 7 or 8 in order for it to work with their margins, you see. So wild fish, only something like a wild turbot, when it's expensive, would only work for a real top end place or somewhere where price wasn't an object at all, like, you know, Sultan or something, or a VIP kind of thing.
Yeah, because when you think about sustainable fishing, or where to get sustainable fish from, we tend to think, oh, automatically wild caught, but and there's an association of farmed fish as being not sustainable, not ethical. But is that true?
Not necessarily. You can always excuse me. You can always highlight and you can always find unsustainable methods of any type of fishing, actually. So for example, the kind of fish that we avoid down in Cornwall, the wild fish that we avoid, is beam trawled. It's where they've got a great big sort of bar that goes along the bottom of the ocean, and it drags up, and they catch whatever down there.
Oh, and that catches everything.
Catches everything, and it also damages the seabed. So that's not sustainable. So and if you compared that to, say, a really well-run fish farm, you could definitely say the fish farm was going to be more sustainable than that. So you can't just say wild is sustainable and farmed isn't.
Yeah. It's not black and white.
It's not black and white. So when you come to farm fishing, it depends what methods they use. There's a certification sort of body called Global GAP, which is quite strict audit. That so if you want to call yourself responsibly farmed, so we pride ourselves on, you know, responsible sourcing. So our wild fish is sustainable, or as sustainable as it could possibly be, and the farm fish that we buy is from it's been signed off as being responsibly farmed. So that will mean usually either no antibiotics or extremely low level of antibiotics. It will be natural feeds. It would be about density per square metre in a cage. So, for example, if this was a salmon cage, this room, there could be salmon. A less sustainable salmon farm, if you like, a less responsible salmon farm might have 10 fish per square metre. Whereas if you're buying, you know, you could find another one that's got 3 per square metre, which just means that A, it's better at animal welfare, but also the end product would be better too, because the fish are more athletic. It's a bit like, you wouldn't want it's like battery chickens. There's an equivalent of that, so you can have more of a free range farmed.
Interesting.
So you could associate, you could compare it to that some farming can be irresponsible or not sustainable, but then if you choose carefully where you're buying from, which we do, then, you know, you're buying the best of what you can get. So yeah, I mean, we deal with about 5 or 6 farms directly, including Byberry Trout Farm. That's very good. A place down in Hampshire, Chalk Stream, where it's in fast flowing waters and they only use natural feed. We deal with a salmon farm in Scotland.
When you say natural feed, by the way, that's like no dyes and no...
Yes, no dyes. Now, the feed itself can be a controversial thing sometimes in fish farming, because it's like, if it contains fish, then they're worried about, well, did that...
Cannibalism.
No, because fish eat fish. Salmon eat fish. Not cannibal, hunters actually. Cannibal would be if they ate a salmon.
I had pet fish when I was younger, and it's true. Some of them ate each other. So
yeah, some of them eat each other. But the fact is that sometimes they're using certain types of fish for feed that species might not be sustainable. So that's what you've got to be careful of.
Okay.
I can't completely solve the whole sustainability argument, because there's lots of opinions that are knocking about, but we follow the Marine Conservation Society guide, and they've got a kind of red list, and we make sure that we never sell anything that's on that red list, or above a number 3 in sustainability. Right. 1 is the best, 4 and 5 is bad.
Can you name a few things that are on the red list, just so we know?
Yeah, well, they've got, so for example, skate. So we sell something here which is actually ray, but a true skate is endangered, and shouldn't be traded or brought in, or even sold on the fish market. Bluefin tuna as well. You've got to have a special license. So yellowfin's fine, and depending on where it's from. But again, it's all about sustainability. It's sometimes not just about a species, it's about the area or the way that it's caught in that area. And so, for example, you could have a Dover sole on the red list if it's from the east side of England, because A, they might be short over there, or the way that they're catching them there isn't sustainable. So they'll put that on the red list, but then they'll say, if you're buying a Dover sole, for example, in the Celtic Sea Irish box, caught using these methods, which is fixed net or otter trawl, for example, then that's okay, and you're number 2 there.
What's a fixed net?
A fixed net is where you set out a net, and then you kind of almost wait for the tide to go through. It's a fixed net. So catching fish, you're either baiting a hook, or you're kind of pulling something, or you're setting out a net, or you're encircling them. That's the only kind of ways that you can catch a fish, basically. So line caught is normally really good, but then the long line sometimes isn't, because there's been a history of sort of dolphins and that kind of thing. So we avoid long line tuna. We buy hand line and pole caught tuna, which again is the most sustainable. It's won us a few accounts actually. Our tuna actually. It's quite an important product to. But then the latest word is that tuna from the Indian Ocean potentially might be unsustainable, however it's caught. But that's just a kind of it's under research. So there's people constantly researching. We have to kind of try and follow the guidance and common sense,
and stay up to date.
By the most responsibly as we can.
So that's it. So because obviously you guys, New Wave, aren't the ones going out and fishing, but you buy from fishermen directly.
Yes.
So how do you ensure, as as a sustainable business, a business with
that we know what we're getting, and
like what are the things that you look for? Who do you how do you look to work with?
So first of all, it's knowing about freshness and quality of fish is key here. So we know what we're looking at when it's arrived. When it arrives, if I'm working backwards now at the moment, seeing a top quality fish that's been looked after properly, that's in prime condition.
This is like from a farm, for example.
No. So I'm with farm fish, we have to do supplier accreditations and everything. We've gone through a process, and we would have seen samples. We would have checked the quality before we engaged with them, and with farm fish, there's much less that can go wrong in terms of quality, because they have a certain harvest date. They actually starve them for a day or two before, which means that there's no food in there, so that gives them a longer shelf life. There's nothing breaking down in their gut. So with the farm fish, you can buy something, order it from Norway, and it'll come on Tuesday next week, and it'll be brand new, and it'll have maybe a 10-day life on it.
Okay.
It'll be completely rigid. Where it gets more complex is when you're buying wild fish down in Cornwall, for example. That's gone through the market, and then we have to recognise which boats are delivering the best fish, basically, and that's through experience, through buying from lots of different boats. We've got our favourite boats that we know, that we don't need to look at that fish before we can sell it to our top VIP customer, because if it's gone through their rigorous control, we still have people looking at it. Well, a lot of trust. It goes through the market as well, which is an official body too. So they've landed their fish on the market. It's given a classification, a grade for quality, and then it's all catalogued in size and everything. So we'll buy a turbot there, a box of monkfish, some red mullet, some John Dory, sea bass, whatever, and we'll just know that that's going to be perfect, basically. If it's not, we do have comeback. If we get there and suddenly it's a tiny bit soft or something, that's kind of not good enough. If it's soft, it means it's been squashed or something, not handled. So we would kind of reject that, really, to be fair, on day one, if it came in like that. So we go through, and I've got, just over the years, I've just got some very, very good people working for me who've been with me, well over 10 years, who know exactly what they're doing here, and who's kind of got the company's back massively. So. Yeah.
And I see too on Instagram, which I think is actually really clever of you guys to do. You post pictures of the different independent fishermen that you guys work
yes.
with, right? And I saw that there's certifications and accreditations in terms of their sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're just part of the supply chain, and we have to. We don't want it to be kind of smoke and mirrors that we're just suddenly pulling this hake out of nowhere. I mean, it's been caught by a very real person down in Cornwall, and he's landed that on the market, and we've bought it, and we've brought it up here, and now we're serving it to you, whoever the you is, whether that's a restaurant or whether it's someone eating here. But yes, there's an absolute connection. We've got our favourite hake boats for sure. We've got our favourite lots of boats actually. So yeah, it's nice to show a connection as well. I mean, fish does go on a journey basically.
That's something that we've been talking a lot. Obviously, like we spoke to John at Dora's Dairy and Max at Sourdough yesterday as well. And the relationship between who is your supplier or who you buy your food from is really important.
So that's why, and we're part of that. It doesn't stop. I mean, obviously, a restaurant or the shop would be slightly different, but with us, then delivering it to a chef, if he, they do want provenance on their menu too, and to say that this hake was caught in Newlyn, and if somebody really did want to know the boat, because
they're putting their name on it.
Yes, exactly. So it was delivered by us, but the less that we can get in the way of that process, brand new fish land on the market, bring it back to us, quickly prepare it, and out to a chef, and that's how we like it, as quick as possible.
So for customers who, let's say, so obviously if you're not a chef or you're not a business buying wholesale, but somebody at home is listening or watching this, and they want to know how to buy their fish more sustainably. Sorry. What are the tips or like questions you would suggest people to ask either their local fishmonger or even the fish guy at your Waitrose or Sainsbury's?
Okay, so I would stop you there. I would definitely seek out an independent fishmonger. Okay. I wouldn't consider the supermarkets for 1 minute, not at all.
Okay.
Not for anything, really, and I mean that. And I'm not.
Oh, strong statement. Yeah.
Yes, no, but I really wouldn't, because there isn't a question that they can answer. Their supply chain is too slow.
Right.
There's no expertise in the shop. There's no knowledge in the shop. The product's substandard, I'm afraid, and it really is. So they might have a few things on there. You might be able to get a bit of salmon or a bag of mussels or something, but I just don't. And I know that the stores aren't able to make their own choices on what they have based on their own area. So, for example, you would think that maybe the Cirencester Waitrose, in quite an affluent area, would maybe have some slightly upscale, but no, they don't. And it's I don't know. I just don't think it's an option at all. So I think if you're a serious fish lover, fish eater, you should find a independent fishmonger or someone who's doing a good fish stall, and you might have to go a bit of a distance to do that, or if you were within our delivery area, you would look us up and we'd make a delivery to you. And we've got a shop in Cirencester, but if you were further afield, if you were in London, you would definitely go to one of these there's some very good fishmongers in London. You would go to one of them, whether it's Steve Hatt in Islington or whether it's the Notting Hill Fish Market. I mean, there's dozens of them. You can look them up, but you would always you shouldn't consider the supermarkets at all, as far as I'm concerned. Not if you were feeling a bit lazy and you just wanted to grab something, fine, but don't look at that as being a gourmet experience for seafood.
Okay.
At all.
Good tip.
Okay.
It's because you say for the fish lovers, obviously when you in the UK or when you think of the UK, we think fish and chips, which you can get at your local
it's
shop.
pretty backdated. That, I mean, yes, there is still that stigma, but we're pretty much in a way past that. So, for example, the industry I'm in has got zero connection with fish and chips. I mean, literally, it's a completely separate industry. Even though we're both in the fish industry, the fish and chip supply industry is a completely different set of people, rules, margins, just the whole thing. It couldn't be further apart. So they're buying lots of block cod. There's a kind of model there. Say it, but it's always cash, isn't it, in the fish and chip shops? And there's a little bit that disappears. It's that kind of model. Fish and chips I think that's a pretty outdated model for England now. I think we're more sophisticated than that. We've caught up with our European certainly when I was a kid, fish and chips was pretty much about it. But I think now, since the 90s, or we've caught up with Europe. I mean, obviously France is not far away. They're well and above, France and Spain above us in terms of knowledge about seafood, how to cook it, what it is, anything about it. We're still well behind the rest of Europe, of those parts of Europe, unfortunately, but we're catching up. And there is, there definitely is. I mean, I wouldn't be in business otherwise if there wasn't a good market for seafood in the UK.
Well, so for those who, let's say, haven't really explored fish and seafood outside of that, what would you actually suggest people that want to expand their palate, but they need to, start
I would
small?
suggest, first of all, probably go to either go to a decent restaurant or have someone who knows how to cook. So people have a stigma about fish. Oh, I don't like this, I don't like that. But what you actually, if you go back, you find out that they had a really bad version of it.
Right.
They had a really, really bad version.
Yeah.
Overcooked. Maybe it was really strong. Maybe it wasn't fresh. Maybe they didn't have it on time. It sat in the fridge.
Yeah, because fish isn't supposed to be fishy. Fresh
shouldn't be
fish
fishy at all. They shouldn't.
Like
you shouldn't have any smell from a fish. And if you do, you've probably someone has stored that badly, or you've held onto it for too long. So you need to. But saying that, if you can cook as well, there's nothing to be scared of about pan frying a piece of hake or something. I mean, literally, you just sort of season it, get a pan hot, skin side down. 30 seconds, knob of butter, leave it, and then either turn it or just leave it there and just serve that up with some beans and some new potatoes, and pour some lemon juice over. I mean, it's that simple. And if you ate that, you can't say you don't like fish. I'm afraid you just, I don't know, just wouldn't accept that.
Okay.
It'd be good as long as you don't overcook it. Don't dry it out.
Yeah, because it's not supposed
and don't
to be
leave
hard,
it in your
right?
fridge for days on end, and then think, and then complain, my fishmonger's giving me you should eat it on the day. Really, you should buy fish on the day you eat it, ideally, or one day later.
And this is something that I didn't know, because I never really thought about it. But we think of seasonal foods like with fruits and when they're in season, but fish is also seasonal, right?
Yes, I mean yes, it is. It is seasonal. Some species more than others. Again, there can be a bit of an argument rage. I mean, if you were to look up on the internet, what's the season for example,
lobster,
monkfish? Lobster's pretty clear actually. Lobster's pretty clear. It's summer. Lobsters and crabs, it's definitely summer. So right now, lobster's at its best in price and availability, and what that is down to really is that they go out much further to sea in the colder weather, and so we can't really catch them. Basically, they're out in deep sea. They spread out. So in the summer months, they're much more in the UK, and we buy Canadian lobsters in the winter. Actually, you obviously Canadian, but there's not enough lobster in the UK in the winter.
From where do you buy lobsters?
Well, Canada somewhere. I'm not sure exactly, because we're handling a lot of different products, so we're dealing with an importer.
I would think East Coast though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely East Coast Canada, and sometimes America as well. Maine. We could be getting some Maine lobster. It's not far from there anyway. Is it that area? Because of the amount of lobster they have there, and you can just order say 60, and they'll all the same size, and they'll come in like that. Whereas again, in England, I know that those would be wild caught in Canada, but you've got a lot more of them. In England, if you buy a box of lobster, they're more likely to be lots of different sizes, and it's not as standardised as a Canadian lobster can be. But when we're in the summer, people do want Cornish lobsters, so that's what we're doing a lot of at the moment. Crabs, lobster, that's in high season. Mussels generally should have an R in the month. It's an old saying that you should have an R in the month when for shellfish. So when you look at that, for that type of shellfish, so when you look at June and July, they don't. So mussels aren't at their best now. They're still okay, but they'll be much better in September.
Okay.
And they'll be much better in April as well. So September, October, November, December, January, that's all high season of mussels, and UK native oysters as well.
What about winter? What's more available in
so
winter time?
Winter, certain things, I mean, the fish is kind of available. A lot of it's available year round, but you get more of it at certain times depending on what that fish does. If that fish comes in, so for example, for a flatfish, just slightly jumping around here, they have a breeding season, so they're out of season in their breeding season because A, you don't want to ideally catch them when they're breeding, but B, they put a lot of their energy into their breeding, so they're very thin at that point, and they're not a good option to eat. So a plaice or something in February, March is not a good thing to have. It'll be flat. They call them sort of dish plates. I mean, they're that flat, there's kind of nothing on them. Whereas in the summer, they plump up. So you get a 40% yield in February on a place where it's about 65 now, meat content. So it kind of plumps up. So there are some things that are out and out rules on seasonality. And then there's some that are a bit more vague. You know, when's a John Dory exactly in season? You can't quite pin it down. There's different opinions. But yeah, pollock in the winter. Pollock's a winter. Cod's very good in the winter. Mackerel quality is the best in the winter. It's not necessarily in high season, but the quality of the flesh is at the best in the winter because it's really cold. There's quite a lot to learn. There's quite a lot to know.
Yeah, it's interesting. So basically, buying seasonal fit or buying based on seasons. I don't know how to say it. That can definitely have an impact on how it's the most sustainable time of the year to fish,
definitely.
But also on price, because I think people have this association that fresh and good seafood and fish is much more expensive, which it is, but I guess there's times of the year where things are a bit more affordable.
Yes, there are. There are, and again, something like, just for example, where you get more meat for the same size fish in the summer makes it slightly cheaper.
Right,
so, you know, you're getting more for your £5 or whatever
more
it
bang
is.
for your buck, like we
yes,
say.
Exactly. But there's certain, you know, there's quite a lot of kind of strict rules. For example, you'd never take a lobster with eggs on it and things. That always has to go back in. So, you know, and just generally, we avoid flatfish when they're breeding.
Yeah.
And then there's, I'm just trying to think what other, like wild sea bass, we'd only buy line caught of that because it's just, it's a more sustainable method, and they're catching less. That's the point as well. They're catching a lot less with line caught, whereas if you go out with a net, you could end up getting tonnage in a few hours, and that's not really that ethical either, really, to do that and just clear the whole area.
That's really fascinating.
So yeah, I mean,
you know a lot about fish.
I do. I mean, yes, I do.
I mean, 34 years in the business. Obviously, you have to know what.
Yes,
know what you're
but when I
about.
started off, I was really actually dealing with kind of just prawns and sort of smoked salmon and things like that. But over the years, I've kind of got really involved with it. And
what's your background? Like, did you what got you into the business?
It's quite strange, really. So when I was younger, when I was really young, I was mad on fish and fishing, and I was. And my dad's best friend said, "Oh, that boy will end up in fish one day."
Oh, really?
He actually said that to me, yeah. And I wanted to be, at one point when they asked what I said I wanted to be a fishing bailiff, going around so that I could fish free on the rivers and things.
What's a fishing bailiff?
Well, a bailiff is just someone who goes around and checks your tickets, really. But I think I just like the idea of just going fishing. I used to be mad on fishing when I was a kid. Anyway, years later.
Like, who got you into it? Was it like your dad?
Oh no, not my dad. No, my friends. I lived in Hampstead in London, and there was some ponds there, and I ended up joining a fishing club when I was about 11, until I was about 15, 16, and we used to travel all around in this coach and go
like fishing Boy Scouts.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, we'd go meet at like 5 o'clock in the morning and drive off, God knows where, anywhere really. So anyway, that's the background, is that I was always interested in fish, and I did like fish. And then just sort of slightly weird happened. I went to live in the States, but this is not much to do with it. But I went to live in the States when I dropped out of school. I didn't do A-levels. Went to live in the States when I was 17.
Where?
In California. Well, I went with my dad. My dad's American, so we travelled around for a few months, and then I lived in California. Found myself working for Apple for a bit, actually. They let me go. I was only temp.
Are we allowed to say the word Apple? We'll bleep it out if we can.
Yeah. But I did anyway. I worked for Apple in the very early days. So this is like 1983 now, 84. I was a kid, actually. I was living at my aunt's. Anyway, I came back to England, and then I found myself working in an estate agent's office as a kind of just office junior, basically. So I did that for a year or two.
Knowing you, that just does not sound like you.
No, it wasn't me. I was a proper dog's body, and
Really?
they humiliated me in there, made me wound me up and all sorts of things. But no, it was really good fun. I was in Hampstead, and then I became a kind of sort of junior estate agent for a much smaller firm over in West Hampstead. did that so I was doing that for a couple of years, and then my parents moved out here. And I realised that I was here, the Cotswolds. Sorry, they moved out.
The UK.
Yeah. So we were living in London. My parents moved out to the Cotswolds, and I kind of realised I wasn't really enjoying being an estate agent or in the industry as well, and I wasn't doing very well. So I decided to come out here. I applied for a job in an estate agent, and they said to me, "How well do you know the area?" And I said, "I don't really." And they said, "Well, go and get yourself a driving job." So I went for a driving job, and it happened to work for a seafood company. So I went for this job, and it was a seafood firm. And then they said, "Hey, you could sell. Do you want to be a van salesman? Do you want to be you could do well in this company?
Sell fish,
Do you want to sell seafood?"
Cool.
So I was like, "Yeah, all right." Very nearly went into the wine business because I had a wine interview lined up, and I know nothing about wine.
That sounds like you too.
No, but no, I don't know anything about wine.
You guys have really great wines here, though.
Yeah, we do actually, but I don't know much about them. Not too much anyway. I mean, I know what I like.
But since you found your stride.
So anyway, I came down. So they employed me, and I worked for them for 2.5 years. Became quite a senior sort of salesman in a way. But I'm a bit. I'm not very good to. I'm not probably wasn't ideal for as an employee. I was only 22. I'm 23, and I had a bit of infighting with someone in the office who wasn't keen on me. I got sacked basically. They got rid of me, sacked me quite unceremoniously.
Okay.
And and just some things all sort of fitted into place. My mum was going up to Scotland. I was a bit angry. I bumped into this chef who said, "Your firm's crap. You should come and set up on your own and things." And so I just kind of decided overnight to set up on my own.
Yeah. Like they say, rejection sometimes is redirection.
Yeah. So I was really angry, and also I heard when this guy, my arch enemy in there, when he heard that I was considering setting up, he said that I would just last 3 weeks, and I heard that he'd just said that I would only last 3 weeks.
Oh, that must have motivated you.
So it motivated me, and I suddenly moved really quickly and met people up in Scotland. Met this Bristol wholesaler who didn't like my old company at all. So he kind of supported me, this guy down in Bristol, and I started this round, approached my old customers, that's kind of, a long time ago, but that was in 1989, but that's how I got into fish.
And still love it?
Yeah, I absolutely love it.
Yeah,
I really do. I'm really interested in it. I know quite a lot about it. I don't know everything, but I just like the whole the randomness of it, the kind of the middle of the night thing, and especially
what's the middle of the night thing?
Well, there's I've got stuff going on all through the night. For me, I mean, I've got someone turning up at 3 a.m. And setting up and then doing the buying on the market. I've been to all these markets. I've been over to Paris through the middle of the night market. I mean, I've done all this stuff. It's really I find it quite exciting.
It's fun, yeah.
Wholesale markets, buzz of 5 a.m, bringing back stacks of fish, selling it to chefs. I get off on the sort of buzz of it. Really, I like it.
I wanted to ask your opinion about something. So have you heard or have you watched the documentary on Netflix, Seaspiracy?
Yes, I've seen a bit of it, and again, I think definitely. I mean, I've seen a little bit of it, and as I said earlier. You can easily highlight unethical practices, but I don't think you can just kind of write off the whole industry as being unethical. I just really don't think you can. Because they had that with Cowspiracy as well, didn't they? But, I mean, I know there were some horror stories on there, and some of the, for example, out in Asia, people being forced onto boats and that kind of thing. I mean, that's really... So even now our prawns and things, we're having to make sure we go through, and companies that are producing our prawns have to be, have to be kind of completely ethical and have fair trade and everything, because it's... there's things going on in the world, definitely shortcuts being made in every industry though. This would be fish, it would be meat, it would be with everything, pesticides, hormones, everything, or bad practices, or slave labour. But started with the coffee years ago, fair trade with the coffee, didn't it? And I mean, in every industry there's a dark side, I think. And I suppose if you're in the industry, you've just got to be trying to choose the best, or what seems like the most ethical, sensible best. The best product does come from the most ethical product too, as well. So if you're buying hand-dyed scallops, for example, not only have you not disturbed the seabed, you've also got the freshest scallop you can possibly have.
Yeah. That
gives you the best shelf life, and so it is a win-win buying the best things from the best people, really.
And you're also supporting, keeping jobs for people in your country, right?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I think. I know that the kind of takeaway message for the audience was basically, there's no such thing as sustainable fishing, so you should just stop eating fish altogether. But I think that's a bit extreme. And
it's very extreme. It's very, very extreme view.
Yeah.
I mean, if that happened, what would they be suggesting that you should have? I mean, because you could, that would be an extreme view. I mean, if you go down to, for example, if you were to go down to Cornwall and go down to a little Mevagissey or Loo or something like that, you'll see little boats come in. You'll see two guys on there. You'll see some beautiful fish there, and you could eat that in the restaurant there. And you can't say that's not sustainable, really. You really can't. I suppose if it completely ran out, but it's not at the moment, and that's where the question marks are. Is that fish going to run out or not?
Yeah.
No one really knows.
I think there's a trend right now of like apocalyptic thinking, and the opinions. Yeah, it comes from very black and white place, and I think
it's a bit too much.
It's very toxic too. Because at the end of the day, it's more about considering how to make more conscious choices in what you're doing.
So I mean, even with meat, if you buy from a good local butcher that's using sort of local meat, hopefully within the area, less food miles, some provenance, and knowing that hopefully they visited that farm and they know that it's that's what you're kind of trusting.
Yeah.
You should be trusting your butcher or your fishmonger to have checked out where they're purchasing from, really.
And that can be way more ethical and sustainable than, let's say, being on an avocado diet of avocados you've had to import from California, with the carbon footprint, with deforestation and all that. So I think there's so many different factors.
It's probably avocado growers who are making the film, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know, Avocado-spiracy? Yeah.
Avospiracy.
Avospiracy. We came up with the idea first, Netflix, just saying.
But yes, anyway, it's there's definitely a lot of, there's things you have to be aware of, but I think there could be a bit too much scaremongering sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which might not be the most productive message or mindset to.
And I don't think that actually for example, if the UK fishing industry was that concerned about that film, for example, they'd be kind of withdrawing, but they're not. There is investment, there's future investment. People are modernising their boats, they're expanding their, we export abroad. It's a big thing is the export market as well from England. It always has been, actually, with lobsters and fish that's bought on the market. There's always a demand in Spain and France for it. So yeah, it's it's actually in quite good shape, the UK fishing industry.
I wanted to ask you, actually, from somebody who's really in it deep in the industry in the UK, is there anything that you would like to see more of, whether it's from policy changes or maybe like a shifting consumer demands that would help move things in the right direction?
No, I mean, I can't think of anything specific. I mean, we always, there's always seems to be really high demand where the prices are extremely high, just in general. That's the thing that's kind of really affected us. I'd like to see the prices coming down a bit on for example, salmon, which is a big percentage of what we do. When you add the smoked salmon to it as well, it's just gone through a real price hike, and the Scottish and the Norwegian seem to be, they are controlling the market, and it seems to be they're working, maybe they always seem to be very high. No one's kind of, I'll drop that and come and get it off me. This is what it is. If you don't want it, we can sell it anyway to the United States or wherever. So we have to, even though we're a big buyer, we've got kind of no real bargaining power, as much bargaining power as I'd like at that. When you're buying that kind of product, it's the people who are producing it are setting the price far more than the demand, it seems.
Okay.
Anyway, but no, I mean, we get a good range of fish from. We've got some great suppliers lined up. We pretty much there's certain things that we source on if you like, set up on the shelf, if you like, and there's other things that we can get, like razor clams or special orders, langoustines that we won't necessarily buy unless someone asks us. But yeah, we can pretty much get everything, really.
So would you say it almost does make your job easier as on your mission towards more sustainable sourcing when your customers are educated on that and they know what to ask for?
Yes. They don't so much ask us as we kind of tell them, if you like. I mean, really, without sounding kind of patronising, but it's I would rather.
No, I think people are very receptive.
I would rather be transparent, and I'm selling you a chalk stream trout portion. I'll tell you it's sustainable, and I'll tell you why, or where it's from, provenance, etc. I think people kind of trust us, A, as a wholesale company, but B, at the fish shop and everything, they trust us to be giving them guidance. We do know better. I mean, when I say we know better than them, what I mean, we're experts where they're not. So it's up to us to actually tell them that we've done the right thing, and they can trust us to do that. That's I think that's the point, really.
That's really exciting. There's so much about. I find it really fascinating, and I mean, I know it's been cool to be able to witness part of your journey, obviously with the new restaurant venture, and being able to have a new way for people to access great seafood.
Yes, I mean that's the thing. I'm just so involved with fish that I kind of feel that I'm on a bit of a mission to kind of share that with everybody in a way. And
so, what are you most excited about that's coming up?
What am I most excited about? What am I most excited about?
I know the restaurant is...
The restaurant's exciting. The fish shop in Cirencester, once I link up that with a delivery service, that's going to be quite exciting. But I think my real passion is with the wholesaling, so I've got a couple of opportunities coming up that might be quite big on the wholesale. I've still got London where I really need to exploit because I'm on a supplier list of a couple of one particularly really big hotel group, well, with 3 places, but probably most prestigious in London, that I used to do a little bit with, and I need to kind of get up there and present to them, and a really big department store that's just taken me on as a supplier, with supplying the fish counter, potentially 20 restaurants, up to maybe. I mean, that's what's there. So some opportunities there, really. I mean, I've got a lot going on at the moment.
But no, that's great. So
I want this to just sort of settle down. It's new, so I mean we're in our first year, so I'd like to just the restaurant. Yeah, we're in the first year in the restaurant. So
because you guys opened, was it before
October?
Christmas? Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
fall.
And it was in hindsight, it was a really difficult time to open. The weather cold, but the weather's always cold in England in October. But we just kind of hitting that doom and gloom economic pinch in England. Everyone's talking about the mortgages and the power bills. So, I mean, in hindsight, it wasn't the best time, but there never is probably the ideal time. But because the winter was quite tough. The autumn and winter in the UK, I think generally, last autumn was pretty tough for the economy. Uncertainty about the Prime Minister, mortgages scaring, and again, the more you read the papers or watch the news, kind of the worse it is in a way, and people are thinking, oh, it's terrible, so I won't spend any money now. But no, we're doing all right here, actually. Really happy with our new chef. We had one before. He decided to leave. He wasn't really that suitable. But this new guy's great, Nico.
No, it's great to have passionate people because I mean, your business is really an extension of you and your values.
Yes, exactly. So I need to be able to work really closely with people here, and he buys into my philosophy, and he uses a lot of, I'm happy he's using a lot of byproducts, if you like, and things that boiling up bones, and just using things that we should be doing. As a chef, he's making the most of the whole product, really, throwing nothing away.
So for people who obviously, if you want to come and try the new wave brasserie, then come to Lechlade in Gloucestershire. Yeah,
you come down here Wednesday through to Saturday, lunch and dinner, Sunday brunch, and there's a fish market here on a Friday morning. So it's a lovely little location. Lechlade's a beautiful town, right on the River Thames.
For those who can't come to Lechlade, is there any, because obviously you supply other chefs with other restaurants, any particular pubs or restaurants you want to give a shout out to?
It depends which area you're in. I mean, if you were down in sort of Bath, then I would probably be going to the Scallop Shell down there. or Noah's in Bristol, which is a place that they just recently reopened. I'm kind of thinking really fish restaurants. Up in the Cotswolds, the Plough at Kingham, got a really nice seafood menu.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Quite a few places. The Red Lion at Castle Eaton's quite nice locally, but that's local to here. We go all over actually. But yeah, I mean, just you probably, if you eat in a restaurant within 50, 60 miles of here, you probably are eating my seafood actually.
Oh, cool.
I would think so. I would hope so.
That's a great flex.
Yeah. And we supply fish counters as well. So if you're buying your fish from a fishmonger in, say, Nailsworth or Reading or something, that might be my fish too. So that's the idea, is to try and I'm not an egomaniac or anything, but I do kind of want to control the fresh fish in this area.
I think
from top to bottom.
It's deserved. I don't think it's ego. You just you know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
you know, and I think you've earned that.
I hope so.
Yeah. On that note, I can hear the kitchen starting up in the back.
Is there? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. No. So obviously, yeah, we're gonna go for brunch and try the great food here, and hopefully show a little bit behind the scenes of the kitchen to everybody watching. Tim, thank you so much.
Okay,
for
you're
being
welcome.
On our
thank
show.
you. Thank you. I hope I haven't talked too fast. Or
no, I love it. You're so entertaining, and honestly, it was super informative and really educational. For anybody who wants to, I guess, find out more about New Wave, they can find you online, right? They can find you on Instagram.
Just search New Wave Seafood, New Wave Fish, anything like that. You should get quite a bit coming up.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go eat.
Yeah, cheers.